Hello there, everyone, and welcome to Play Pause Repeat, the podcast where we bring you everything on sports, pop culture, and entertainment. In today's episode, I, Brayden, will be hosting and interviewing Ryan Murphy, a current and competing Olympic-level swimmer for the United States men's national team. Currently, Ryan Murphy owns 5 gold medals, 9 total medals, 2 Olympic-level records, including one of them being a world record right now in the 4x100 men's medley relay. In addition to his swimming career, Ryan Murphy also attended the Haas School of Business at the University of California at Berkeley and also works as an investor alongside his swimming career. Currently, Ryan is planning to compete in the 2028 Los Angeles Summer Olympics and potentially win more medals and golds. As always, make sure to follow Play Pause Repeat on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram, and make sure to follow, share, and listen. Now let's get started with this interview. Okay, Ryan, can you walk us through your background and how you became an Olympic gold medalist winner?
Yeah, 100%. So I'm the youngest of 3. So I kind of grew up chasing my older brother and sister. So they kind of got into. They got into a lot of sports obviously before me. A lot of the arts and a lot of the arts as well. And so I was kind of the younger kid, just trying to be older, just trying to do everything that they were doing. And so my career kind of started in. Learned to swim at a young age, started swimming in summer league around the age of 4, gave up other sports around the age of 12, ultimately qualified for my first Olympic trials, and I was 16 for those, got 4th in the 200 back, 6th in the 100 back at those Olympic trials, and kind of used that as the launch pad for my career. Ended up going to Berkeley for school, had great training partners there. They helped push me to kind of raise my level, ultimately made the 2016 Olympics, trained with, continued to train with really great guys, made the 2021 and then the 2024, and then we'll see. Hopefully I can make another run at 2028.
And how was your path towards making the Olympics, and how did it feel to make your first Olympics in the 2016 Rio Games?
Yeah. I think the path is when you're in it, it always feels like a slower process than how it's perceived by other people. And so for me it was definitely a grind. You had to show up every day with with an intention to improve. Being focused and aware. Honestly, every stroke in practice. Understanding the goal of the practice, understanding the goal of that phase of the season was really important. And then there's a level of discipline too. It's not like I'm jumping out of bed every morning at 5:30, feeling excited to go jump into a cold pool. Like there are days where just kind of had to force my way through it. Show up and kind of take that first step to get in for warm up, and then typically once I got in, take energy from other people in the group and. Ultimately make the most of every opportunity to improve.
And can you explain the training methods used by swimmers to improve and train, like maybe dry land, swimming, and nutrition?
Yeah, all of it matters. So, I think in the water, like constantly focusing on technique. We do a lot of video review. So thinking about, hand angles, body shape, and then on the fitness side, like constantly trying to make sure that we're working the right energy systems to be primed to perform. And then outside of the pool, it is like the nutrition. Like at this point, I kind of know the macros that I need to perform at a high level. And and then in the weight room, like making sure that I'm doing the right movements, trying to keep the emphasis on explosiveness rather than bulk. And then on the recovery side, just making sure that I'm staying up to speed on kind of the latest and greatest, recovery methods. And so that's like massage, physical therapy. I've got a sauna and a cold tub at my house, and then the sleep is, sleep's constant. I was trying to maximize that.
And I assume that you watched like past Summer Olympics before you began competing.
Yeah, 100%. So I've always been a fan of the sport. So the first Olympics, I actually have. I was born in 1995. I have some memories of the 2000 Olympics. And watching the U.S. teams win relays there, and then really remember the 2004 games. Was glued to the TV for that whole Olympic games. And then as we got to 2008, that was Michael Phelps's peak, where he won 8 gold medals. That was, an awesome team to watch. And then by 2012, it started to know people on the team. So then you're kind of rooting for friends. And then 2016 was on it. So, yeah, definitely cool to see those like absolutely marquee major moments. And then to experience it is, something really cool.
In that case, what kind of swimmers did you idolize as a kid?
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone looks up to Phelps. Like he's the best of all time in our sport, and I mean one of the best athletes of all time in general. So he's obviously someone that I looked up to. And then I was at a young age. It was pretty clear that I was kind of had a talent for backstroke, and so I was always rooting for those guys. So someone like an Aaron Pearsall was someone I really looked at as someone that I tried to emulate. Like he was always like cool, calm, and collected, but behind the blocks, and an absolute beast once he got into the water. So I tried to take some of his like personality, and put it into my like competitor archetype. And then I grew up I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, and so Ryan Lochte was training out of Gainesville, Florida, which is about an hour and a half away. So I saw him a lot growing up, and started to develop a relationship with him, honestly, when I was like 13 years old. He was always really good to me and a lot of the other younger kids, and so he was great to look up to as well.
And in that case, how did it feel not only to like meet your idols but also compete alongside them?
Yeah. I mean, he's cool. Like, I mean, anytime you meet like someone that you look up to, like, you're super nervous going into into those interactions. I think it was cool to like, for them to really just show that they're normal people. At the end of the day, they have a great talent for swimming, and they've done everything they can to develop that talent. But they have similar interests to people like you and me. And then compete alongside them. I mean, it's really like a dream come true. I think it's like my view of myself is never going to be as high as I kind of hold them in my mind. And so I think it's really an awesome. I mean, it's an awesome experience to compete alongside people that you grew up watching.
And I noticed that you broke some Olympic and world records at your time competing. And which one is the one that stands out to you the most?
Yeah, it's a good question. Honestly, like I think the relay world records are great. Like those are so fun. You're just the energy behind the blocks. Like you're going behind the blocks with 3 other people from your country, and so that's a really cool opportunity. So I think the men's 400 medley relay is a really cool one. So I think we set that in 2021 Olympics. And that's cool. Like the relays are always at the end of the meet. So the Olympics are swimming is over 9 days, and so like there's a lot of competition that happens before those relays. And so throughout the Olympics, like I'd gone through the 100 back and got third in that one, and I felt like I had the potential to go win. I just didn't just didn't come together at that meet. And then the 200 back I got second. And that was an okay result as well, but definitely had bigger goals. So going into that relay, I was kind of like I had gotten medals earlier in the meet, but definitely felt like I had I had probably had higher hopes going into the competition. So the night before that relay, our head coach kind of sat us down with the 4 guys. And across that group, it kind of had mixed results throughout the games. Like Michael Andrew was disappointed in his meet. Caleb Dressel was having an awesome competition. He was riding high, and then Zach Apple kind of had also mixed feelings on his meet. And so the coach kind of sat us down the night before the relay and was like, he started reading off splits. And, you kind of see as he read off those splits, each guy kind of realized, all right, those are splits that I've gone, earlier this week. And the splits that he was reading were was the makeup of the world record time. And so you kind of see each of us realize like, yeah, we've got a legitimate shot at breaking the world record in this relay. And that was it was honestly a great rally cry. So we kind of get into the heat the next day. We were in lane 1 or lane 8. We were in an outside lane. And we go and every guy kind of does their job. Like I led off with a solid time. Our breaststroker did his job, flyer did his job, and the freestyler brought it home. And so we ended up winning that race, broke the world record. And that's the end of the meet. And so we're like really celebrating a lot. We're kind of flexing at the guys in the stands because that was COVID. So there were no fans. So it was like literally just swimmers in the stands. So like totally empty arena. So we're flexing back and forth at each other, celebrated for, probably longer than the people would have liked, but, it was an awesome moment.
Yeah, and you are a backstroker, so in the medley, you do go first. And after you get out of the water to cheer on your teammates, what races through your mind during that competition?
Yeah, it's great because you get to kind of get lost in the race at that point. So it's cool. You're an opportunity to kind of cheer for your guys, like get them, you're kind of like the last words they hear before they go. And so, it's cool, like to be in that situation. Like I kind of understand before we go off, like what it is that each person wants to hear. Cause it is different. Like some people are like, yeah, don't say anything to me when I'm on the blocks. Like I just need to be in my own zone. Other people are like, yeah, just like really like hype me up. So it's fun. Like it's cool to like in most of those cases, Caleb Dressel's been our putter flyer. I've known Caleb since we were like, 4 and 5. And so like I know him really well. He likes to be hyped up before he goes off. So I'm always yelling at him, getting him ready to rock. And that's a really fun position to be in.
And how are you able to balance life as a swimmer in Olympics alongside your classes at UC Berkeley?
Yeah. I think it's at every stage, like in my life, I was kind of balancing both, and so I think honestly my schedule was probably more packed in high school. Just given the amount of hours we were training in high school was actually probably more than we were training in college. The college hours ended up just being a little bit more like focused, and so. Yeah, like at every stage, I felt like I was managing it, and so when I got to college, it was I had good practice with managing a lot, but definitely like I had to be intentional. Like in the semester before the Olympics, I didn't want that to be my hardest class load. So I was like really intentional. Like okay, like here are the classes I have to take. Here's the places where I get taken elective, and really wanted to stack like. There's no easy classes, but like really wanted to stack like, relatively the easier classes going into that 2016 Olympic trials. And so that was really intentional. But I think it's like, I view sports and academics as like very complementary. Like sports is in sports, like you really need to drive the motivation really at all times, and I'm someone like it's hard to turn off motivation. So it's like you're either working hard or you're not. And like, for me it's just easier to go work hard at whatever I'm doing than, try to work hard at swimming and then like not in the classroom. That just doesn't work for me. So, it's fun to have kind of multiple things that you're excited about. And I think that, it lends itself to, balance in your life.
And what was your favorite memory as a golden bearer not related to swimming?
That's a good question. I think, I think it's not like it's like a very cliche answer, but it's like it's the people. It's like through my whole college experience, like I was I never lived in an apartment. I was living in a house with, with four other guys, and I always really enjoyed that. I thought it was great to, it was great to have like a larger group around me at all times. So I loved that experience of living in a house with, your best friends, and like, every day there's kind of like some unexpected like hilarious moment. So those are I mean those are like the like it's such a unique experience going to school, and living with your boys. So I love those times.
Is there any people that you lived with at Cal that are swimming with you today?
No, no. So all the guys I lived with, so they stopped competing after college. Um, and I lived with guys that were in my grade at Cal. Like there are plenty of guys that like. I mean, I guess not anymore, but like for a long period of time, like there were guys that I competed with in school that, that went professional in swimming, and like we were continuing to train with each other. I'm at a point now in my career where most of those guys have retired, but you keep on getting a good crop of guys that continue to train at Cal.
And you said that you competed against people that you know today in college level. In that case, are they like your roommates now, the people that you competed against?
No, no, like I'm married now, so I live with my wife, and
Oh,
we have a baby too. So
no.
yeah, I wouldn't want to bring any roommates into that situation.
Well, how about for the Olympic Village?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like every Olympics, like there's been like a Cal suite, so um, yeah, so like in 2016, we had the whole suite. So it was four rooms, two bedrooms, six guys. In Tokyo, we had a four-bedroom suite again, and there were three Cal guys in there. And then in Paris, the configurations were interesting. So they threw. I was in a two-bedroom suite for that one, and was rooming with Chase Kalish and Nick Fink, who were we were kind of like the three you know elder statesmen on the team.
And how would you describe the life inside the Olympic Village?
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. It's crazy. It's like the first week of college. So like like first it's like a massive space. There's like thousands of athletes in there. So like getting into the dining hall and like maneuvering through that whole situation. It's it's a lot. And then like you're living in essentially dorms. And in a lot of cases like worse than dorms. So yeah, it's fun. It's a good bonding experience. I wouldn't want to live there forever, but it's fun for a few weeks.
And do you ever spend time in the Olympic Village, like relaxing, like playing games with people?
Yeah, yeah. So swimming's typically first to go at the Olympics. So like, I want to say the Olympics is like something like 15 days. So swimming is like the first nine, and then we're done. So yeah, I mean, well, typically I'm someone like before the meet, like I like to lock in, not do too much. But after the meet, yeah, it's great to go interact with people, go watch some other events. So like it's cool to go see the track people do their thing, and you can like really enjoy the experience after you're done competing.
And for competing Olympians, is it free access to all events at the Olympic Games?
Yeah, you basically like you kind of put yourself into like a lottery. Like they're not gonna like you don't have to pay, but like it's like if you're trying to get a ticket to the men's basketball final or like the men's 100 meter or women's 100 meter, like it's good. It's a hard ticket to get. So we typically don't. I've never gotten it. I throw my name in the hat every year, but haven't gotten it yet.
In that case, what event besides swimming at the Olympics did you watch, and what was your favorite?
Yeah, yeah. So actually, I mean, I went to men's water polo in Paris, and that was a really cool event. So yeah, that was I guess that was semifinals. So we were playing. I think we were playing Serbia, and like I knew a lot of the guys on the team, so that's what made the event cool. Was like, like I know I know the people that are in the water, and so like when you know the people competing, like it's I think that's a little bit of a cooler experience.
If you were to compete in any other event besides swimming at the Olympics, what event would you compete in and why?
It's a good question. I mean, I think I'd love to do flag football. At the these upcoming Olympics. Growing up, like I played. I mean, I essentially played soccer, baseball, flag football, and swimming. I loved flag football, but like that wasn't it. It wasn't a year-round sport at that point. Like it was, at some point it turns into tackle. And so I gave up football at that age. But I really, really did enjoy football. My dad played football growing up. So I liked that one.
And I assume that you're training for the upcoming 2028 Summer Olympic Games in the next summer, I think so. The summer
Hmm.
after that one, actually, in LA. And what does this Olympics mean to you differently than others?
That was gonna be insane. Like a domestic Olympics, like you don't. It's very rare to get that opportunity. Like the last U.S. Olympics was 1996, and so you have to get. I mean, you honestly have to get lucky in terms of like how your career overlaps with the domestic Olympics. I think it's an awesome opportunity. I think the venues are going to be insane. Like even just watching the World Cup right now, like seeing the U.S. stadiums, like they just look so good. And swimming's going to be in SoFi Stadium, so it's going to be an absolutely unbelievable experience. I mean, I'll do everything I can to try to have that moment.
And of course, there's like the people that lead out the USA team at the opening ceremony. And so, do you think that you should be one of those people that lead them out?
Honestly, I've given that zero thought. If I was throwing my vote, I'd put Katie Wadecki as our person to lead us out. She's the best swimmer, best female swimmer of all time, and probably the second best of men and women of all time. So, I'd want her to lead our team out there.
In transitioning to the Olympic cauldron, do you think that Michael Phelps should be the person that lights up at the end?
I think that'd be awesome. Yeah, I mean he's the greatest Olympian of all time. So he's definitely got a he's definitely got a claim to it. I was lucky enough. He was our captain in 2016, and like he very much shouldered the pressure for the team. So I think he's someone who's I mean he's given so much to the sport. Really moved the Olympic movement forward, and so I think he'd be an awesome person to do it.
And what does the Olympics mean to you, and how has it impacted your life?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the Olympics to me is like I think you. I mean, it's really like international competition at its finest. I think it's really cool that I mean, you are collecting the best people from around the world. Like everyone has completely different backgrounds, different training styles, and you get to compete head to head for your country to see who's the best. So it's a really really cool. I mean, it's a really awesome event. And I've been super fortunate to be a part of it, and how it's impacted me. I mean, to be honest, I think it's just given me a lot of confidence in my life. I think swimming's the first thing that I ever went all in on. Like I really really have done everything I could to maximize my potential, and like it's an incredible event. So yeah, it's a absolute dream come true to have had those experiences.
And what are your future plans for swimming?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm back in training. So hopefully I'll try to put myself in a good position to make this team in 2028. And hopefully be impactful on the podium. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes.
And what do you plan to do outside of swimming after you're retired?
Yes, I mean right now I'm in like my day job. So I'm working in growth equity investing. I own a swim school in Jacksonville, Florida. So I think I'm going to continue to lean in on both of those career paths. I think it's I mean they're two super interesting two super interesting businesses. So I really enjoy the experience of being involved in a mission-based business. Like swimming has given me so much, and I think it's an incredible sport, but it's also a life-saving skill. And so teaching people how to swim, it opens up so many different avenues of activities, and that's really it's fun to be a part of that. And then you also really enjoying this investing career. Like I get to talk to so many and impressive operators and founders, and I really enjoy that.
And I like how you mentioned the idea of a swim school. In that case, what kind of advice would you give some people who are teenagers or kids who are seeking to become an Olympic swimmer one day?
Yeah, I mean, take it day by day. I think ultimately, like you're gonna have to fall in love with the process, and like that means like you are gonna have to learn to love like eating healthy. You're gonna have to love sleeping a lot. You're gonna have to love recovering, showing up every day, working hard, being intentional. It takes a lot to perform at the highest level. And so kind of take that step by step. It's also like it can be pretty daunting if you're thinking about a goal years in advance, and so like breaking that down into whatever chunk makes it palatable. It's like let's get better over these next 3 months. Let's get better over these next 6 months, year, 2 years, 3 years, and then ultimately like you're going to take steps to make that goal happen.
And before we close this interview, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No. I mean, I think like obviously I've found what I love in swimming, but I'd really encourage everyone to just go find what gets them excited. What gets them excited to get up, work hard, and pursue something in the morning. I think if you find those things, the work ethic and the sacrifices you have to make, those become so much easier.
Thank you, then.
All right, I love it. Really appreciate you having me.
You're welcome. That closes this episode of Play Pause Repeat. Make sure to follow, share, and listen to Play Pause Repeat on YouTube, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. This episode, I, Brayden Shea, hosted and interviewed Ryan Murphy, a current and competing Olympic swimmer for the United States men's national team. As he plans to compete in LA 28, please cheer him on, obviously. And with that, thank you for listening to Play Pause Repeat as we close this episode.